All right, so today we're going to work on the buildings, start working on the architectural detail. And I have here Payne's Gray, Raw Umber, and Titanium Buff or unbleached titanium. And we're going to start with the church steeple right there in the background, first thing. So I have a small flat brush or a bright. If you have a small one that you can control the edges of the building. I'm mixing, I need a gray blue, so Payne's Gray is a good option, but I'm putting a little bit of raw umber in it just to give it an earth tone as well, an earthy kind of brown gray. So I used Payne's Gray, raw umber, and a bit of the titanium buff. And I'm going to start with putting this color kind of almost everywhere here. And then I will highlight the side that is lighter. Okay, let's take that again. It's good to have a brush that has sharp edge. Especially with architecture. All right. So if you see a little bit of the background color that we used, burnt umber, what we primed the canvas with, showing through, that's okay. We don't need to cover it completely. So I'm going to do the trim. Okay. And let it dry, and then we'll highlight this. So I'm going to keep it really simple. You can do the top. Actually, I'm going to get a smaller brush. Small round brush. And let's see, a little bit of a detail here. You can do it freehand, or if you want, use a pencil. Okay. Actually, we can put some kind of highlights right now. Or do you want me to stop for a minute so you can catch up on this? I'm gonna pause. All right, so now let's work on the same colors, get the same colors, and paint the rest of the rooftops around the same, whatever we see there. I mean, not all of them. Some of them I'm going to change color because into more of an orangey, earthy, burnt sienna. But for now, mid-tone, the Payne's Gray, Raw Umber, and Titanium Buff. As soon as you put color, you can see the perspective of the lines. You can tell then if they're going in the right direction. Okay, that's good. I simplified whatever whatever is in the reference, so you will see that in this area where I'm painting right now, the left-hand side of this rooftop is slightly different from the reference. So now I'm adding here a darker shade of what we've been painting. So I just mixed Payne's Gray and Raw Umber, and I'm putting it here in this area. This is good. Okay. So it's the darker shade, no Titanium Buff. Also, I'm going to do the same over here, darker shade. And down here. Just gonna fix the line a bit. I mean, I don't have to. I can always adjust this line with whatever color I'm using for the building. But since we're doing it's still wet, so it's easy to adjust right now. Right. So now this is done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this medium tone I used for the rooftop, and I'm going to add bit of titanium buff, so highlight it a bit, and paint the rooftop of that little window in there. This is too light. It has to be, it's light, but it's not very, I don't want it to be very light. But it's lighter than a rooftop. I really like how the burnt umber is showing through underneath. It looks good.
Wait, Leah, what colors are you using in that little window?
Same, Payne's Gray, raw umber, but I added a little bit more of the titanium buff.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm gonna pause for a minute and I'll come back. Okay, so now let's put the other part of the, let's continue working on the rooftops. Let's work on that one down here. And the same colors, Payne's Gray, a bit of raw umber, and titanium buff. Mid-tone, not too light or not too dark. So we have enough room to kind of work on some highlights if we want. All right, we will highlight the rooftops. Right, one more. We have a nice big one here. All right, a little bit of a darker color. So just Payne's Gray and raw umber. And let's do the side. we'll do these three ones here in burnt sienna, right here. And maybe we'll just continue working on this one here, and we'll do it in the same color. Let's put some. I'm putting a little bit more of the titanium buff in the mixture, and I'm just going to create a line here for the edge of this rooftop right there. Same thing. Let's put a bit of more titanium buff and a touch of raw umber. And give this one here a bit of a highlight. Okay, what else can we do? Let's see, more rooftops. Okay, yes, this one here, the left one that we were working on. Let's finish working on it. Good. And the inside, so I'm going to darken a little bit part of it, which is here, this, just to create that shadow that the rooftop usually creates when it hits the side of the building. It has, you'll see a bit of a shadow in there. And this one here has, I would say, let's put it up to here, right there. The same blue, but we're going to highlight it a bit. So we're going to I'm putting a little bit of titanium buff for the side of the building. So usually they use wood in here. And what I'm going to do is soften the shadow with round brush. And right here, instead of having a harsh edge, Just going to make it softer right there. You can use the dark color or the light color to soften this edge. Let's see, let's take maybe, I tried with the darker color, it's not looking good. So I'm going to use the lighter color right here and just kind of soften this connection. We take more of the titanium buff. Not titanium buff by itself, titanium buff and the mixture of Payne's Gray and raw umber. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a lighter color on the rooftop for the trim, the edge of the roof. And I'm really trying to simplify details as much as I can. All right, let's keep it for now like this, and then I'll come back to it. I'm going to pause. Okay. So let's finish this part right here. I have the same color, Payne's Gray. I'm going to put more of the raw umber in it, more wood color, and the titanium buff. So it's more, it's like a grayish brown. All right, and I'm going to paint the side of this little shed right here. It's still too gray. I'm gonna add more brown. Yeah, that's better. So by changing the ratio of the paint colors I'm using, I'm getting slightly different color of the more of brown color than gray. Now let's go back to the same color, but again I'm going to use more raw umber in this Payne's Gray and titanium buff, and I'm going to do the rooftop of this house here. Because eventually I want to put a bit of burnt sienna on it. So this is just for now. We will put burnt sienna. Right. I'm going to bring this down a bit and I'll explain why. This is the wood that is from the facade of this house. I put right here a side rooftop on this like side view, and the line where it ends is connecting with the same line of the one in the back. So I don't want it to connect. So I'm bringing the wood of the color of the house in the back down away from that line because it was connecting. Right. Okay. Now, let's start. Let me see, just make sure that all of the colors. Oh, okay. Now, again, let's take Titanium Buff, more of the Payne's Gray, Titanium Buff and Payne's Gray and Titanium Buff. I'm going to take a little bit more. And I'm going to paint this house right here. Blue. Gray blue. I'll put the detail on it after. Shorten it a bit from the bottom so I can see more of the street, the road. Okay. Okay. All right. So a little bit of darker brown, gray. So brown and gray together. Mix them. And let's put a little bit of shadow in here of the rooftop on the building. Okay. Now we can go back to in a minute we'll go back to the church steeple and the other highlighting the rooftops. I'm going to pause. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start highlighting now the rooftops, and we're going to use the same colors we have been using, but in different ratios, different combination. I'm going to take more of the brown, mix it with a bit of Payne's Gray, and add Titanium Buff. It's good. A little bit more Titanium Buff. I have to remind myself that it dries darker, so I'm good if I add some more highlights. There. All right. So let's come here and then put a little bit of line right there, and then just give the rooftop tiny bit of not everywhere, here and there, just to give it a little bit of a texture. Dabbing, creating texture, soft texture. And let's take some more. I'm adding a little bit more of the Payne's gray now. And I'm going to come right there. Side. Light is coming from the right. So this is highlighted quite a bit with the same combination of Payne's Gray, Raw Umber, and Titanium Buff. And now, it's the side. Now, I'm going to go a little bit darker. So I'm changing the value from high value, which is this highlight, into a medium one for this part. Now, if it looks, by the time I'm done, if it looks too close to the one, the highlighted one, I'm going to darken it a bit. It shouldn't. This part should be less highlighted than the side. Okay, and over here as well, on the side. Now I'm going to take more of the Titanium Buff, mixed with the same combination, and highlight this part a little bit more. So I have a difference in values. Okay. Actually, keep the ones on the side the same value. So these two are the same. Only this one is a little bit darker. All right, now a little bit more of the Titanium Buff in the same mixture. And I'm just going to put a line here and another one here. Okay. Just a little bit of an architectural detail. All right, let's go back. Finish highlighting the rest of the rooftops. I need more of the Titanium Buff and brown with the Payne's Gray. And let's kind of give this one here a bit of detail. Not too much. I changed my brush into a round one so I could put a bit of detail in there. Okay, that's good. Okay. Now we can do the same to these two, to the big ones, rooftops on the left. Let's highlight this one here. I'm adding a little bit more of the brown in there. So titanium buff and brown with a bit of the Payne's Gray, but mostly titanium buff and brown. Now this one here is closer to us, so we might see a little bit more of the detail than the ones in the back. Texture, I should say, not detail, texture. Corner of my brush, I'm dabbing a little bit here and there. Okay. Just one more highlight, one more rooftop, and it's this one here. I'm gonna dab at the bottom. Give it texture. Okay. That's good. That's enough. Okay. So this is where we stop for this week. Next week we'll continue working on the rest of the roofs and the architectural detail.